Bucket lister is the opposite of people are dying at 40 and being buried at 80. It's the opposite of people in the matrix. It's someone glass half full, not half empty. It's someone who is not just existing, but they are purposely and intentionally living.
Jesse Ray with the Growth House Podcast. I am here with someone that I am super excited to talk to. We already talked a little bit, before we recorded about how we got connected, and we know some mutual friends. But ladies and gentlemen, the bucket list guy, Trav Bell. Look at that. You got the tats and everything, man.
Mate, that's branding 101 right there.
That really is.
It's you got to get Growth House on your.
I really do. I do. That's if you don't have your brand tatted on you, you're not that dedicated. I just
100%.
learned that right now.
Mean, you can do merch all day, every day, but when you get ink, bro, it's next level. That's a tax deduction too.
Did you actually write that off?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, if you're not aware by now, like I've been the bucket list guy for. I don't even know why I did quotes, but anyway, I've been the bucket list guy for 15 years now, and someone called me the bucket list guy 15 years ago, and everything that I've done on my bucket list has been a tax deduction because it's marketing.
That's amazing.
So still
what a good way to live life.
So still to this day, my accountant says, "You're not as dumb as you look, are you, Trav?"
Trav, there's so many things. I'm so excited to dive in. Shout out my friend. I always like to, give a little shout out to people that inspire me to get a guest. And Brian Lubin, one of my good friends, we talked about travel with him over Europe, here in Tulum, about to be a part of the Action Academy retreat that he does. We're both mutual friends with him, and shout out Go Abundance because it's a great community and group of people as well.
Brian's a legend.
It really is. Well, Trav, this is about you, man. And there's so many things I could say. The bucket list guy, TEDx speaker. You had, a huge business even before you became the bucket list guy. But for someone that is like, who is Trav Bell? What do you say? You have so many things that you do.
I literally, I said this last night. I'm meeting a guy. I guess organically started coaching speakers to, speakers, coaches, authors to do what I've done. I've had a lot of people over the years go, Trav, I want to do what you do, but in my own way. And I help them do that and, help them commercialize their message. And that's one of the bits of coaching, one of the coaching things that I do. But I had to explain, like this guy was introduced to me by a mutual friend, and and I said, I don't really know him. He doesn't really know me. And I said, look, we've got a call today, this afternoon, my time. And I said, mate, just as a backstory, just Google me. I just said, look, just Google me, and here's my website. And if that doesn't kind of tell you who I am, because I hate I don't really like talking about like, here's what I did, like just Google it, and if I come up on Google in a really shit way, well, someone's going to get sacked, but well, my whole team's going to get sacked. But hopefully there's enough content out there to, kind of illustrate what the hell I do, and the website, that sort of thing. So, yeah, man, like I in short, for the last 15 years as the bucket list guy, I've basically run around the world doing my bucket list and people pay me to talk about it.
What a life, man. So your mission is to help 10 million bucket listers. What is a bucket lister?
That is a great question. A bucket lister is the opposite of people are dying at 40 and being buried at 80. It's the opposite of people in the matrix. It's someone glass half full, not half empty. It's someone who is not just existing, but they are purposely and intentionally living. It's someone who's not reacting to the world. They are proactively living with, living deliberately, living with intention. And they're a beacon of hope. They are light for people to shine on other people and to be the example for other people to follow, not in an egotistical way, but just We need more positivity, optimism, people living by example out there in the world, bro. And I've got 4 kids, and I want more. And we're in a mental. One of my drivers, because I've been through it, and I'll probably unpack that. But I've been through, my own depression, my own mental health challenges, which helped spawn the bucket list guy. But mate, we're in a mental health perfect storm. Like we got depression is going through the roof. Anxiety is just next level. The overprescription of antidepressants, don't even get me started. Suicides, youth suicides. You go throw a pandemic in there. Then we've got this new thing called the loneliness epidemic. It's a real thing. Google it. The loneliness epidemic, where we think we're all more connected than ever before, which we are, but we're all more lonely than ever before. It's so messed up. So that's why I say we're in a mental health perfect storm. So we need more bucket listers out there living by example, living truthfully, living congruently to their values, which is, our values are our internal rule book for how we live life. And there's so many people out there living incongruently with what they really want to do. I say a bucket lister out there living their bucket list life, their version of their bucket list life, not compared to the crazy shit that you and I sign up for. Running with bulls, I saw, Iron Man's, Mount Everest, that's on people's bucket list, not bucket list. And yeah. And it's not about comparing apples to apples. Mine's bigger than yours as some sort of pissing contest, but it's about, at least, living deliberately, living proactively. And I want that for everyone. And pretty much most of what I talk about is well, probably 99% of what I talk about is positive psychology. A lot of people don't know this. So positive psych is identifying the strengths, what gives a person meaning, purpose, fulfillment, gratitude, and basically bleeding more of those activities, those things, that way of being into a person's life and into their business life, into their career as well. And then you live a congruent life. You live a happier life. And that's what I want for everyone. You want that as well. You want that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have started Growth House. We're all basically doing the same thing, right? We all want people to live, a fulfilled life. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that aren't, and the people that this message, this particular, podcast, it'll resonate with those people that need to be woken up, that need to get off the fence, make some decisions in their life and to choose happiness. So all I've done is, with this positive psych stuff, is put this bucket list brand over the top of it, just to make it more palatable, make it more user friendly, make it more fun, versus and versus regressive psychology, traditional psychology, where you go back in time and you fix the person to be normal again. But they, help. How do psychologists help a person be normal again? And normal being a functioning member of society. While they use drugs and therapy to get people to be normal again. So, but the people that log into the Growth House, my stuff, they've probably been through the fire, or there's a part of them that want to change, that put their hand up and said, yeah, I'm going to listen to this podcast, I'm going to watch this, I'm going to engage, I'm going to click through. And because I'm sort of, I guess, surrendering, I'm waving the white flag, and I do want help. And those are the sort of people, who are on the growth train. They want something better for their lives. And that's really what we're talking about. And so positive psych is for people that want to perform better, excel. And that's what we want, right?
100%. What was your catalyst for change? You were successful. You had the company, you had money, and then you mentioned going through depression.
Yeah, fucked it all up. So, yeah, great. No. No, I grew up. I'm a surfer by trade, I guess. I literally, if I look out the window there, I've got a surf check.
You got that vibe, so I totally can see that. You
Oh, mate,
got that surfer
I can't help
vibe.
it, and it's fake blonde hair, by the way. I did. This is what happens. I'm 51. For God's sake, what the fuck am I
No way.
doing this blonde hair thing? So I had some sort of man bun before about 2 weeks ago. I'm just stoked I've got hair. So no, I grew up as a surfer and always in the water as a swimmer, surf lifesaver. I did that was me being a jock. That led me to do a physical education degree, human movement degree. Graduated as a exercise physiologist, but in third year uni in the 90s, there was this guy that came in. He was doing this thing called personal training. Like, what's that? And this is really strange to say, but personal training literally was not an industry. It was happening in Hollywood. It was happening in the US over there. But really in Australia, there's probably a handful of personal trainers that I actually knew about back in the day. This is, again, in the early 90s. And he was training all these, celebrities and, people on TV. And that's a big deal. And getting paid pretty well per hour. And I was just fascinated with what this thing called personal training was. And he's really helping people. So I just did everything he said, got a client, and went from one client to, what was my record? 63 1-hour mobile personal training sessions in the week. And then from there, I got one of the first personal training studios in Melbourne here in Australia, and had 13 personal trainers working for me in that studio. Then a year later, I franchised it, and we had a chain of personal training studios around Australia. Did that for 20 years. So I founded and franchised a chain of personal training studios. Became someone that I didn't really like, too much of a lawyer, too much of an accountant. Let's say cancerous people into my system. They wanted to, using the metaphor, they wanted to put beetroot in the Big Mac. And I said, no, you're not allowed to do that. And they said, fuck you. And I said, fuck you. And one thing led to, and they become really cancerous. And I was just falling out of love with what I'd created. Did 20 years in personal training. One of the pioneers, wrote helped write the Code of Ethics for personal trainers in Australia. There you go. For Fitness Australia. Did over 2 million personal training sessions. It had 300 odd personal trainers working under our umbrella. Tens of thousands of clients and their families, were positively affected, which was unreal. But I kind of run out of steam. It's sort of like when social, sort of like probably a couple of years after social media really started and kicked off, I started just to go, oh God, I think I'm cooked here. So, and I didn't cope very well with some legal stuff going on. Try to party it away. It's not a good solution. I didn't. Yeah, it's made it worse. No, but I slipped into depression pretty bad for me, but not bad compared to a lot of other people, that I come across. So our own perception is our own reality. But instead of going on heavy antidepressants, which is what they wanted to put me on, and I'm like, no, we train so many people that are on antidepressants, and they're just zombies. They're just sleepwalking through their life. I'm like, fuck that. So I went and had to drag myself out went to events, try to get help where, anything except for drugs, because I didn't want to rely on them. The other drugs at the time were fine, but not these ones. It's hypocrite. So I was about 2 years into that kind of journey. I'm walking on fire with Tony Robbins. I'm doing ayahuasca. I'm going to fucking Burning Man. I was a little bit later, but at the end of the day, I worked through some stuff. I honestly did, and that's where I discovered the positive psychology stuff, which really, really resonated with me. Got some good people around me. Changed my circle of influence. Changed my relationships. Everything. Really, really went at it. And a friend of mine said, Trav, you're in these seminars all the time. You've invested shitloads of money. Why don't you teach this shit? and his name was Nick, and it was like, yeah, God, okay. About a month later, I put on a talk. Nearly had to pay the 40 people to come to that talk. Shitting myself. I've done a little bit of health speaking and stuff with the personal training, but not at this kind of level, and not sort of outside that lane. So I put together this talk. When about halfway through, and this is about 15 years ago. About halfway through, I shared the fact that I had this list to do before I die since I was 18, and no one knew this about me. And I said, who else has got one of these lists like written down, like to-do list, And I had my little blue folder with my crimpled up page in it and all list to do before you die, and I ticked off a whole bunch of stuff. I said, who else has got one of these lists? Nah, donuts. I'm like, why the fuck do you get up in the morning? What's your North Star? What's your compass? What do you want to earn money? What do you want to earn time? And I don't know. This is the response I still get to this day. Pay off the house, put the kids through school, do a bit of travel when I'm older. Yeah, probably sicker. I'm like, fuck, is that it? That's your goals in life? Like that's what? And so it's all too common that we live life with the blinkers on and not even writing stuff down, which is the first tip that I've got for everyone. Just get this stuff out of your head, because we're so busy on our daily to-do list that we forget about our bucket list until something traumatic or dramatic happens to us or a loved one, right? And suddenly we when we don't have all the time, we don't have all the money, and oh no, I haven't got the resources to do my bucket list. Is like, dude, once you get a diagnosis, you quickly flip the script on your priorities, don't you? And we've seen it. We've seen so many people that suddenly are so busy, haven't got enough money, suddenly become infinitely resourceful when they're looking down the barrel. So I shared my list. I shared some stories in this seminar. And then Joe, one of the participants, said, at the Q&A time, said, how's all this list to do before you die stuff? It's like a bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy. Fuck. And I knew that from a business point of view, that I wasn't a Tony Robbins. I wasn't a Brian Lubin, a Jesse Ray. I went, you know what? If I attach a personal brand, such as the bucket list guy, it's going to help me stand out and rise above the noise. And we're in the online world now. And so that, I probably wouldn't be on here if I wasn't called the bucket. A lot of people don't even know my fucking name. So I'm okay with that. I probably should have went Trav Bell on my fucking hands. So the point is, I registered the domain name, and spoiler alert, I was on the Google machine, and I'm like, who's like the Mac Daddy? Who's like the king of bucket lists in the world? Oh, look, no one. So I literally called myself the world's #1 bucket list expert. And now it is on a book. So yeah.
It's on a book and it's on the internet. It's official. You are number one.
Yeah. But from an entrepreneur point of view, you got to claim your space. And look, and I tell everyone that. So so really around that time, I had all these bricks and mortar businesses, commercial leases, big fucking gyms around Australia, and I'm like, whoa, the burden and the weight of all of that. And then around that time, Tim Ferriss came out with his 4-hour workweek book, and he's running everything from a fucking hammock in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I like that business model better than I like freedom. So I guess an early adopter to the online digital nomad space, because I had sacrificed a fair bit of myself growing the bricks and mortar business, and the thoughts of running around the world, still running a business, having offshore teams, remote work teams. Dude, sexy proposition, still is. I've had lunch with Tim Ferriss. That was on my bucket list. Met him when he came to Melbourne. We had lunch. So big fan, and that was really influential. I know it's kind of like post-pandemic and stuff. It's just like, that's just the way we run businesses these days. But back in the day, there was quite, very foreign. So really, from the bucket list guy, I've had to reverse engineer that and go, okay, well, what is that? What how do I construct this message? So really, for the last 15 years, I've been reverse engineering it, and it's a positive psych message, and it's helped so many people, dude. Like I probably like you, serial entrepreneur, fucking squirrel, and that's the hardest thing to contain. But the fact that I've done this for 15 years and not even swayed, not gone out the guardrails, I've kept the blinkers on, is a miracle in itself. I love what I do, and it's helped, and the positive feedback you get from whether it be coaching or speaking or someone reading a book or listening to a podcast episode, the imposter syndrome disappears fast when you're getting people giving you thanks every day. Not from an ego point of view, but you need to build up that evidence, that good evidence of that you're on the right track. And it's not just standing ovations every day. It's not just doing the TED talk. It's not the book. It's just like the DMs you get from people that were on, that were on suicide watch. I contribute to the Heal the Heroes program through aerial recovery. And dudes that are coming out of the US military with fucking PTSD going, Trav, your stuff saved my life. I'm like, what else, dude? What else do you do? I can't do it. I can't not do this. So I've turned it from, I guess into a mission. Like that's my mission. I thank everyone. I thank you, dude, like for allowing me the platform to spread my mission. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I love it. So many ways I want to take it. I want your thoughts on our audience is mostly 20s, 30s, starting out entrepreneurs, and they're just constantly getting pushed on social media. Hey, grinds, don't sleep in your 20s, don't sleep in your 30s. Once you have the Lambo and you're a millionaire, hey, guess what? You'll be happy.
Fucking Lambo. Why would you want a fucking Lambo anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God.
So
Look, I get it. I've been through it all, mate, and I love looking good, just like the next guy. And look, and to be honest, in the first sort of half of, I'm 50, so and I've been through the fire and I've been through the ego and all that sort of stuff. And I don't think you can help it. Male egos are beautiful. It's a great thing, but I think it'd be fucking hard these days, like with so many influencers and influencers pulling at you every single day and keeping up with the Joneses. But if you just drop ego out of your decisions, the world really opens up. So I'm quite a minimalist. In fact, I've met the minimalists, Ryan and Joshua, and I got onto their stuff really early, the minimalists, and it's about doing more with less, having less, because for me that again comes from a place of having the burden. Had the cars, had my current thing. I've got too many surfboards. That is my problem. That's an addiction. So
how many surfboards are we talking? Like more than a dozen?
we got what do we got? About 10. Yeah.
10.
So
Okay.
you got to have them in different widths, and depends on the surf. We just had a massive swell come through, so the big one comes out for that one. So I've always, I guess having done that, I've really embraced minimalism, and that requires us to, I guess, do a stock take of our life and the people in our life, and make non-ego based decisions around what we want to know, what we actually value, and it's not the stuff. The stuff is bullshit. But it is, what I love, what you and Brian have been doing lately, it's about experiences, capturing those moments. Like, that is a life well lived, not a fucking, like, a Lambo is all well and good. But I just saw the other day, yeah, I just saw the other day, a mate of mine posted, I think I reposted it on IG, and in LA, you can rent Lambos by the hour. That's easy. You can rent mansions by the hour. You can even rent handbags, like expensive handbags. No, check this out, dude. And you can even rent a fake private jet set. So you can get in a private jet. Don't tell Brian this because he'll do it.
Brian actually wants the real thing.
I know. He'll have his own anyway. So, but you can rent this like actual set of a private jet and just like look all like fucking Mac Daddy in there, and with your watch and with whatever the fuck, and like, don't your friends know? Like, dude, you don't own a jet like that. What is that? Like, you can rent these things for an hour and just do it video, like your videos and shit. And it's like, oh, really? That's what we're dealing with.
It's
Anyway.
crazy. Everything's a highlight reel. What I want to ask you, kind of talking about those people in their 20s and 30s and all these influences that they have, and you should do this, you should do that, you should keep your head down and then pick your head up once you have a certain amount of money to go, explore, travel, whatever. And I got bought into that. And sure, I had fun during my 20s. I'm 31 now. So I was like, let me put my head down, let me grind, let me work, let me build something for myself. So then,
Nothing wrong with that.
And then I'm going to be able to, go explore and have the money to do it. When should people, in your opinion, start their bucket list journey?
Well, I'm gonna say something maybe controversial here too. We're all chasing work-life balance, all right? Work-life balance is a shit 80s term that was thrown around in corporate America, corporate Australia, all the rest of it, to make us feel better or make us feel shit about our lives. So we don't live, and nothing ever fucking balances, right? Here's where we beat ourselves up. If you're trying to you're trying to date a girl. I was trying to say that in a different way. If you're trying to get laid,
we'll do it Australian. Go ahead.
Yeah.
How it is.
Yeah. If you're trying to get laid, men, if you're trying to get laid, you pretty much do whatever you got to do. Right? If you're trying to grow a business, you just do whatever you got to do. If you're trying to make bank on something, you just do whatever you got to do. One of the best books around that to make us all feel better is Grant Cardone's "Be Obsessed or Be Average," and he throws the book out on lifestyle, life balance. There's nothing ever balances when you're obsessed with something, but be obsessed about fucking everything. Because balance means you've got to have 50% of this and 50%. No. How about you just do everything 100 fucking percent? Don't use the word balance. Use the word, I go work-life blend. Not work-life balance. Not work-life balance, work-life blend. So define that for yourself, right? But I'm all for entrepreneurs creating wealth, like creating a solid business where they're leveraged away. One of my business partners and / mentors, Brad Sugars, who's done all of those books there, about 18 of them on business. Heads Up Action Coach, which is a globally recognized business coaching franchise. Really helped put business coaching on the map. He said, one of his great quotes is, the definition of a business is a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. So it's the active versus passive income. But also you can go and do a lot of, things in business, products and services that are just disingenuous to you. So find something that you really love to put out there. whether it be a product or service that you're really passionate about. Because 80, whether it's a job or a business, 89% of people in America right now are what they call disengaged. That's the scariest fucking number. If you're running a company, that is the scariest number that's the scariest metric that you'll come across. That means 89%, 9 out of 10 people nearly are going to work every day in corporate America and just not into it.
It
They'll do
reminds
that.
me of
They're
a
just not
term
into it.
that they were saying, like silently quitting, where they're just showing up to get a paycheck, but they're barely doing anything.
I wonder why we're in a mental health perfect storm. Because they're doing the 40-40-40 plan, and that's 40 years of your life, of 40 hours, 40 years of your life to live on 40% of what you earned at your peak. And it's scary. It's 70% over here. It's the same thing. But the birth of there's less people being employed now globally. There's more people contracting globally. There's more people with multiple streams of income. We're working more remotely now, and the pandemic sort of pushed us, I reckon, about 5 years ahead of what we were planning. We've embraced technology because we had to. Everyone knows how to use Zoom now. Pre-pandemic, what is that? No, it was just baptism of fire. So it sort of pushed us all into this space. And Richard Branson said, in the future we'll all be consulting to brands, and there'll be no offices. So I think if you're going to do a business, then make sure that you're not just making revenue, but you're cutting a bit off for yourself and building real wealth. And I dare say, and this is one of the missions that I'm on, is to pandemic proof your business. So what does that mean? Well, work it out. What is a pandemic proof business? Because if it happens again, what happens?
Yeah.
So if
No
you're actively
offices.
involved in the business and you're trading time for money and you're doing whatever, pandemic proof your business, pandemic proof your wealth.
Mm-hmm. What was one of the main ways that you were maybe transitioned to be like, okay, this is how I'm going to pandemic proof my business?
Well, I don't think I did it well because I think a lot of people I had one of the before the pandemic, we had certified bucket list coaches basically around the world teaching my stuff. We sold them a license. We had them in 23 countries around the world. And the pandemic came along and that whole thing imploded. And because, mind you, half of them needed a life coach through that. So, including myself. And but we were going, the model is we go in and we do bucket list programs in corporates, and it's affects culture, engagement, motivation, mental health, etc. So they're our metrics, and so during the pandemic, everyone shit the bed, and no one was coming together, no one was going into their offices, and we had to do everything remotely. So that took a long time to adjust around, and we did some programs and stuff, affected some lives, but that unfortunately didn't really come out of the pandemic too well either. So because we're all in survival mode, so I had to go into survival mode, and since then I've sort of been again pandemic proofing my business. Yeah, because as a keynote speaker, which is one of the ways in which I get my message out there in the world, there wasn't a lot of that happening, even though I do a lot of virtuals and that sort of thing. But what I really love doing is, keynoting around the world. So yeah, since the pandemic, that's been good, but still that can be shut down really quickly. So, a lot of coaching online, building the tribe, building the ecosystem out, making sure there's, a few levels to the ascension model, a few levels within the ecosystem, and making sure that I'm really looking after people and it's less transactional, more long term.
I love that. I want to touch on adult loneliness because you mentioned that. And not even adult loneliness, but just loneliness in general and the, what they call it, the epidemic or pandemic of loneliness.
Mm.
And you'll find this kind of interesting. So when I was working in corporate, pandemic happened and I wanted to get into real estate, got into real estate, got my first house. And I saw a bunch of people in Los Angeles and LA doing these like content creator houses. And it kind of inspired me to be like, have you heard of this before? The houses where, let's say you're a YouTuber, you're a content creator,
Oh, they all
they
live
would,
together?
they all live together. And I was like, that's actually really cool
Yeah, right.
because they're kind of solving the problem of loneliness. They have the in real life interaction.
It's a
And then
co-working
also,
space.
yeah, honestly, the co-working space, and they're all working on the same kind of,
Oh,
goal in life. And so what we ended up doing for Growth House, we started opening up these homes
yeah, right.
and we filled them with entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. And there is a huge difference in virtual versus in real life. And I totally understand that when you're talking about the keynote
100%.
speaking, like belly to belly, face to face with someone, that impact is definitely different. And so it is interesting when you mentioned that adult loneliness, and that's something that like we've kind
Oh,
of had in our thoughts on how to solve that with these homes.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. I did not know that. That's so cool. And I think that that's it, again, you being proactive. Like I'll give you an example. And I just come back from a ride this morning. It's Friday morning here, and I'm from the future. Um, and I just come back from a ride, and I was sharing with a mate on the ride that I went from here. I'm in Victoria, which is the lower part of Australia, up to the top part of Australia, and I drove. Got a Tesla, so it basically drives itself, which is sweet. But it took a couple of days, and he's like, "Why didn't you fly?" And I said, "Well, I've got friends all up and down the east coast of Australia, and I just thought I haven't seen a lot of them face to face for a while, and it's always direct message, or it's a fucking meme, or it's a text, or very rarely even a conversation, let alone a face to face conversation." And so I just proactively, I went, all right, I want to hang out with. I made a list of them, and a week out, 2 weeks out, I said, dude, I'm coming through town, coffee, and they're like, what? Yeah, totally, dude. Let's do it. And so I went up and did a keynote, but on the way and on the way back, I caught up with probably 8, 9 friends, like good mates. Um, and coming out, they were just like, oh, thanks so much for making the effort, Trav. Like I'm not trying to be the hero of the story here, but I did it more for me than them. And some of them are going through shit. They're midlife and kids and the whole thing. And they're not all entrepreneurs, but some of them had some real bad, some shit going on. I know that, but I came out of that, and literally every day I was meeting another friend, and really actively listening, paying attention, being present. Um, yeah, man, and they just all thank me. They all thank me. And it's like because we're so busy DMing. Well, that's the problem. We DM people. We hardly even call, let alone catch up. And so I just went knee to knee, belly to belly. G'day, mate. How you going? Coffee's on me. Let's have a chat. And didn't do it around drinking as well or partying as like because that doesn't do us any favors because we all take it to the next level and nothing gets done. So we know ourselves too well. I know myself too well, and they know that. Yeah. So breakfast,
Breakfast.
you know, coffee, anything before midday. Come on. But but they loved it, and I came I did a great presentation, but I came out of that just so fulfilled, and really made an impression on me that I've got to be more proactive like that going forward, and I've got friends all around the world, it's like when I'm in town, we're catching up. Fuck DMing. Fuck doing that. So how you can do that from a real time point of view is put friends together, be proactive, and and create a time to do a breakfast. Invite everyone if you're running out of time. But here's what happens too, Jesse, is when you get kids, when you get older, that shit becomes super fucking hard because you're juggling all of these different uh, things in your life to try and put it together, and it's fucking hard. You know, you got school pickups, drop off. Like it's just super hard. Everyone's got different times in their businesses and jobs and that sort of thing. So I was kind of like ducking and weaving around their schedule just so I could, do a meetup with some of them. But I was on a mission. And so you've got to be intentional. So do I feel lonely as a result? Fuck no. Did my friendships deepened? Hell yeah.
Yeah. I think you nailed it on the head too when you said you can bring people together, and it doesn't have to be one-on-one. It's great if there is and you have time, but something that I've implemented is the fellas dinner, where a month out, because they got kids, they got stuff
Yeah.
going on, they got
Yeah.
family. Hey, this is our day. We're gonna meet up, have 3 hours of laughs, and strengthen our relationship. See each other. How can we help each other? And that's been
Yeah.
like a huge thing for me when it comes to relationships, because I think memories and relationships are probably the two best things in life, and
Mm.
I think people forget about that.
I found myself getting, I live down the coast here, not right in the centre of Melbourne. So, I've got my mates around here. We all surf together and ride together and blah, blah, blah. But, I just found myself getting lonely, and here I am talking about loneliness. Like, dude, what are you doing about it? So we live in a world of reaction. We live in a world of waiting for someone else to organize stuff. Maybe you and I were a little bit more proactive than the next guy. But I think if you're just living that intentional life deliberately, proactively, organizing stuff for people to come together, we need more of that, dude.
100%. Trav, I can't let you go without hearing some bucket list stories, man. Like, give me like a couple bucket list stories. I want to hear what was on and maybe what's now on your bucket list.
Fuck. Well, I've done done the Ironman. The Ironman one was interesting because I grew up as a swimmer, can swim.
Oh, so
Um,
you got the hardest part already taken care of.
well, not hard for me because I grew up as a swimmer, so that's fucking easy. But if you look at my legs, they look like I'm really good over 50 meters. You know, that's the sort of bulk I've got going on. So anything 7,500 meters, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I've done one marathon, which was on my bucket list years and years ago, and I did a bit of mountain biking. A friend of mine did an Ironman. He's like, "When are you going to do it, Mister Bucket List guy?" And my ego used to get me in trouble a lot with when I came out as the bucket list guy. I've got a funny story that I give during the keynote. So, in a there's so much. There's fucking lots. I'll go back to the Iron Man. I'll come back to the other one. So I entered the Ironman, like a full Ironman, like that's 3.2k kilometers metric, 3.2 kilometers swim, 180k bike ride, and then a marathon, 42k run. So I entered, paid the $1,000 or whatever, and which is a year out, and I entered it and went, fuck, I've never done a triathlon before. When the why is strong enough, the how will work itself out. So I could swim. Don't worry about that. Put it off as a competitive swimmer. All good. Then I went out and bought a bike. I literally went out and bought a TT bike and started running. I overtrained. Another mate from uni who was literally a triathlon coach. He said, "Trev, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm training for an Ironman." He's like, "What's your volume like? What are you doing?" And I told him, and he goes, "Oh fuck, you got to halve it." And I said, "Oh no shit," because I'm fucking injured. So I overcooked myself. He got me on the straight and narrow. So I did an Olympic distance, half Ironman, and then the full Ironman over the course of the year. Trained the house down. Nearly qualified for Hawaii in my age group. Lost 6.5 kilograms during the race, and just went fucking psycho. And but it went really well. And and then sold my triathlon bike.
You're like, no more. I'm done.
No,
One and
no.
done.
Well, I was just a guy ticking it off. So I didn't identify as a triathlete, just a guy having a go. So I've done a lot of that stuff. Another one is I've been married before and divorced. My ex-wife. This is not because she's my ex, but she said, "Hey, Mr. Bucket List guy, why don't you do? There's an art studio around the corner, and they're looking for life drawing models."
Is this a nude life drawing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yo, it's hilarious.
And again, the ego was right firmly intact then, mate. And I went, "Oh yeah, no worries. I'll fucking give it a go." I grew up as a swimmer in the fucking budgie smugglers. Like we'll be right.
Yeah.
Shitting myself. So I've got 3 tips for you if you're thinking about doing this.
Wait, this is your ex-wife who encouraged you to do this too?
Yeah. And they fucking, how's this? They paid me $50 to do it. I walked
Yeah,
out of there like with $50 in my hand going, I feel like a fucking cheap hoe. Like
you
dirty,
cheap, bro.
dirty
That's
fucking cheap hoe.
I would give it back. I'd be like, don't give me this.
No, I don't want your money. No, I fucking took it and bought some clothes.
Oh god.
So number 1 tip is don't do it in the middle of winter in Melbourne.
Nothing showing.
Yeah, I've got 15 people behind easels in front of me at this studio, and what I'm looking for is this. When you derobe over there,
yeah,
and then you come and stand awkwardly in front of everyone with your fucking junk hanging out. So naturally I just went into a deep lunge. So, no,
did you have to hold that?
I didn't. I'll do anything for a laugh. So what you want is this. Didn't get that, did I? No, it was more like, no, they didn't give a fuck. They were all in art mode. They didn't care. It's more my stuff. The second tip though is don't do it in the art studio in your local suburb that's next to the coffee shop where you get coffee every fucking morning, where the gay barista also loves art, doesn't he? True story. Number 3 is make sure that you're the only person doing it on the night. So check this out. I am a heterosexual. I like girls, and I'm mid-routine in front of the group. A door opens. In comes a hotter, younger girl. Interesting. Thought she was going to jump behind a easel and paint my bits like everyone else. No, she goes over to the derobing station, takes off all her kit, comes and fucking stands next to me. And I'm like, oh, she's also a model. And the male brain is an interesting thing. The grown up, the adult male brain says, Trav, fucking grow up. Don't look. And the idiot one, male primal brain, just fucking ignored that, looked and went, oh, I'm fucked here. She was pretty hot. She's pretty hot. Yeah. So like I said, I studied all the positive psychology, the NLP, the personal development. I had to channel all of that to talk it down, if you know what I mean.
Oh my god, that's too funny. Did you have
It was the
free
hardest.
coffee?
It was the hardest. Yeah, I went to another coffee shop after that.
That's too funny, man.
But yeah, man, like it's the good thing about my talks is I'm always doing my list to be congruent. I mean, this is literally like that's my bucket list board for this year, for 2024. So I'm always doing my own list. And so whenever I do a talk, I get invited back because every talk is fresh. It's new. There's a new story. And I love telling stories and having aha moments, laughs, and all that. And so, but yeah, man, look, it's I did one. I did one last year, uh, and that was on my bucket list for 8 years. And I didn't have the balls to do it, and it was to do a stand-up comedy gig. So there's a school in Melbourne here called the School of Hard Knock Knocks. It's a comedy school, and you and 11 other students, coached by some actual real life comedians, for 4 nights, Sunday through Wednesday, for 3 hours a night. You go and write comedy, deliver it to each other, get laughs, don't get laughs. So I did that, and I'd built up all of these like jokes because one day I'm going to have the balls to do it. So at night one, I go and deliver all these what I call jokes, and they're like, "No, you're just a sick fuck." And, and I went, "Oh fuck, I'm screwed here." so,
Well, you came prepared with the jokes to class.
oh yeah, I was like, I've got this. I've nailed this.
Oh, man.
I've nailed this, and I've already got jokes and fucking crickets. Night one, I went, oh dear, now I'm fucking peaking. So we did it. You do the thing. You write learn about comedy. You got to get a laugh every 15 seconds in comedy. It's hardcore. And I go into big storytelling, and they're like, dude, get to the funny. Like, get to the joke. Like, we don't want to hear the 2 minute fucking story. And so I learned a lot there, and what not to do. But on the fifth night, on the Thursday night, what we all had to do was sell tickets and fill a room. We all sold tickets, had 120 people in the room. My family were there, my kids were there. Half of it was about them. It was so like inappropriate. I swear, but I talked about all sorts of shit. My oldest son, he's like filming it, and it's up on YouTube. And I got some laughs, thank God. I wasn't bad like I thought I was going to be. I was so fucking nervous. Everyone's going, oh, but you're a keynote speaker. You do all this. Yeah, but I'm not. I had to throw all of that out and then reinvent for this. But it teaches you a lot about speaking and making a point, getting to the point, getting to the funny. So we all did our 5 minute bit, headlined by the two coaches that we had, and successfully ticked that off. But it was because you had to perform on the Thursday night, there was a lot of pressure to put your 5 minute bit together.
You just had 1 week to practice that week
Well, we
leading
had
up to it.
4 days to practice. Yep.
Wow. That's something that's on my bucket list for sure. Definitely want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm glad
yeah.
you made me put it into perspective because, I love public speaking, but it's like it's a different beast.
Yeah. I don't know how well it did because Netflix still hasn't called about my special. So
they're a little slow sometimes.
They might have missed my number. I don't know. It was definitely that funny.
Anyway. Trav, as we wrap up, man, first of all, this has been fun. Just getting to know you more. And I know we're going to stay connected. If you're ever in the States, especially Arizona, I'm here. If you're in Austin, Brian's there. So you have places now right around there. If we're,
I've got Tulum FOMO right now because I want to be where you guys are at. And I know Brian's been, you guys have been putting on some awesome events. I said to Brian, I said, hey, you need keynote speakers at these things, don't you?
Yeah.
And he didn't get back to me.
Brian.
I reminded him, you need keynote speakers at these things.
Oh, it's typical Brian fashion.
Can't be all the Brian show. It can't be just the Brian show here. Come on.
Oh man, he'll probably hit you up a couple of days beforehand and be like, "Hey, you down to fly out?"
Yeah, and I'll say yes.
Remember, I'm in Australia. Yeah, exactly. He'll say yes. That works.
Yeah, I've got to look at. I've never been to Tulum. I've been really close to Tulum, Cancun, and all that, but I haven't been to Tulum yet. So good vibes.
Oh, amazing! Great energy. Just people down here to have fun. Just kind of not care about what other people think. Just really.
Yeah. Good digital nomad hub down there. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah, I'm in Playa del Carmen right now, which is kind of between Cancun and Tulum.
Yeah.
So next week I'm going to Tulum with Brian
It's a,
and the crew.
it's a
So it'll be
bit
fun.
busy little area, isn't it? That's a cool
Yeah,
spot, that player.
100%. Definitely got to come out. Trav, how do people actually, before people reach out to you, because after listening to this, they're going to be like, I just resonate with this guy. I love how vulnerable he was sharing his story and how he bounced back and now he's doing the bucket list thing. I want to be a part of this movement, this community. Before people reach out, I just want to say this. Our community growth house, we're a go-giving community, meaning if someone says, hey, Trav, can I pick your brain? I don't know them and I'm blocking them from the community. We lead with value first. So I just want to say, what's something that we could do as a community? If someone reaches out, what's some kind of value that we can give to you? It could be as easy as reshare something, like something, comment, just something that people can give value
Oh, look,
before
give
they
me a
ask.
follow. That's easy. But look, here's the thing, like I literally, I go and do keynotes and there might be 500 people in the audience, right? I literally give them my email and my phone number, but people don't do it. So Trav at thebucketlistguy.com. If you want something, if you want some advice around something, give me an email. No strings. There it is. I'll go to thebucketlistguy.com and put in the little widget there, or make an inquiry or whatever. And I love helping people, dude. Like, I love helping people, and I don't think of myself as too exclusive, and that's probably the difference is if people, but come at me with a challenge. Come at me with, I've got enough friends. We can hang out. That's all well and good. But if there's a gap if there's a gap where you are to where you want to be, and you think that this conversation can help, or our conversation going forward can help you fill that gap, then, I'm here to help.
Love it. Jesse Ray, Growth House Podcast. You know the man, Trav Bell, Mr. International Keynote Speaker. Man, it's a pleasure. Our Growth House motto is you become who you surround yourself with. And
I
he's
don't
got
know
his
if I
book,
mentioned. I didn't know if
Number
I
One
mentioned.
Bucket List Expert.
I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. Did I? I don't know if I.
I don't know either, but we're doing it twice. Trav, it was an honor, man. Appreciate you being on the show.
Can't wait to hang out in person.
Yes, sir.